There has been an update to the ICF competencies and it's causing a little bit of a furore. And it's something that I'm going to delve into today. We know that as coaches, if we're doing pure coaching, ICF, International Coach Federation level coaching, it's not about us giving advice. Coaching is purely focused on the whole person. It's supporting them to come to their own conclusions. And I always say it's about evoking awareness so they can build new neural pathways and change the way they think, feel, and act. In September 2025, the ICF released their updates. And one of the updates is this sharing of knowledge. And I think that some people have now thought, oh my gosh, as coaches, we're now going to be advising, we're going to be mentoring, we're going to be telling them everything that we know. But in reality, the sharing of knowledge, the sharing of information is going to be something that we are going to be using sparingly as coaches. So instead of thinking it's going to transform how we coach, we're thinking there is a space, and probably a space for experienced coaches, of where we know something that is going to support our clients' growth, that we have exhausted their resources and that we can help them get there quicker. So what we're doing, it's still one brain to one brain. We will still be sharing knowledge without attachment. We will still always be exploring it with our clients, but we will have that space within the ICF framework to give some, and I wouldn't even say advice, give something that we know that our clients might know to support their growth. So this might be where we might share a little bit of theory. And I would say always be mindful on sharing theory of is it about you and your ego as a coach to say how much you know, or is it really helpful for the client? I always think like the neuroscience, like understanding that building a belief takes time, that is really useful for people, because so many people think, oh my gosh, I've realized that, that I'm thinking this and I want to change that thinking, but actually I'm a week in and I'm still thinking the old thought. Yeah, that's normal. It's going to take time. So that is really beneficial for people. Or maybe it is, maybe you are coaching within an organization and you know something that your client doesn't know that might help them to make a decision based on that context. So we're really thinking about using this sparingly. And the reason I'm talking about the knowledge part is because there is this idea that as coaches, we do not share anything about ourselves, that we are a complete blank canvas. And I remember some of the first coach training I did, and some of the people that I've experienced have said, yeah, we have to be a completely blank canvas. And I've even heard people say that we're not allowed to smile as coaches. And I'm like, okay, we're building a relationship. So as humans, we're connecting as humans first. So if we're not smiling, if we're not actually showing that we're engaged, we're going to lose our clients. And I think it's quite an old-fashioned view that we have to be completely separate. And I always say to people, whatever we're bringing of ourselves, like how do we bring ourselves to the coaching relationship without bringing everything about ourselves? It's a really interesting one, because it may be that the way that we show up says things about us. The way that we engage says things about us. And it might also be in contracting that we're sharing some things about us because maybe we make notes. Maybe we're not as good at eye contact because we're neurodivergent. Maybe we have quirks about ourselves that we want the clients to know, because with that knowing, they will not be making assumptions that it's about them. And the more that we can create those spaces where there isn't those assumptions, where there is that shared understanding, the more that we're building connection. Yes, it might be a little bit about knowledge. It might be a little bit about sharing the theory. It might be a bit about sharing about ourselves. Sometimes it's thinking about how do we build that bridge between ourselves and the other person so that they recognize that it's safe for them to share. And in neurodiversity coaching, there is some evidence that sharing your own lived experience, either of you or of those people close to you, can help people feel safe and that the space is less judgmental. And I'd say, again, we're thinking about how we do this. So you don't need to know my life story. You don't need to know that when I was 4, this happened, or when I was 14, or how I was diagnosed and how I felt. Merely saying 1 to 2 minutes. My experience is I am here for you and your experience. That is enough to build that bridge. So whenever we're thinking about that connection piece, we're thinking about, why are we sharing these things? Is it sharing to build connection? Is it sharing to help our client's brain? Or is it sharing because we want to talk about ourselves? Or is it sharing because we want to make ourselves feel really good? Because, we've got a master's or a PhD or whatever it is. It's always with the client in mind. So even when we're sharing things, that may be about vulnerability, sharing that side of ourselves, we're doing so intentionally. And that doesn't mean that we are doing so intentionally to, in a kind of fake way. It means, what is the purpose? Does my client need to know this? And how will knowing this help us to connect and them to feel safe and valued in the relationship, so they will share more? So yes, it can come back to this new evokes awareness, sharing our knowledge with the frame of our client. It can be about sharing a bit of who we are to help our client recognize that we see them, to help build relatedness. Again, it's thinking about, how do we create spaces where people know it's about them by sharing parts of us to create connection and to assure them that it's okay for them to be who they are. And I want you to reflect on what things you think would be supportive and what wouldn't. And maybe think about some of those situations where it's felt that it's about the other person, not you, even though you're paying them, and what would have been better in that situation.